everyone. Welcome to How to Write a Basic Summary. So first I want to discuss why is this a useful skill. It's an incredibly useful academic skill. I think in lower levels we get people to practice this skill but with no real reason. Like we get people to read an article and then summarize it. But for real academic purposes, this is an excellent way of reducing a large amount of information into a smaller, consumable piece of info. So sometimes when we are doing academic writing and we are using research from other sources, sometimes we just find one or two sentences and then we paraphrase them and we add them into our paper or essay. And that's fine. That's just paraphrasing. But what happens if you find an entire article or an entire study or an entire piece of research that you want to use as support in your writing, but you don't want to paraphrase 17 pages of research. You want to be able to deliver the essential parts of that research in your essay in a condensed miniature form. Okay. So we're going to talk about that kind of summarizing first, which is how do we take a full document and summarize it? Okay. So the first thing you need to do when you want to use a large portion of a document or a full document as support in your essay is you, of course, need to read that full document thoroughly. So if you remember back to our reading skills for academia, you're going to be researching, so you're going to be skimming your research, but maybe you find something and you skimmed it and you're like, yes, this seems like something I can use. So then you're going to do some deep reading. You're going to sit down with this document, you're going to read it thoroughly. Maybe you will look up the words that you don't know in the dictionary. Maybe you'll make some notes in the margins, or you will highlight the important parts. That's great. So that's step number one. So read the document thoroughly, and then you need to identify the main idea or main purpose of the whole thing. Sometimes you can find this information in the first paragraph. This is where, if you're reading someone's essay, this is often where their thesis statement is. So main idea or thesis. If you are reading research, you're going to be looking for the hypothesis, which is what the researchers believed was their, what they believed the result might be of their research. And then you can discuss later whether they were correct or not. If you're just reading an article or an article from a newspaper, then you're going to look for the main idea. So, what is the main idea or thesis or hypothesis? Once you have identified that, you need to write that out on a separate document and paraphrase it or put it in your own words. You might not be paraphrasing from one thing directly. For example, if it's just the main idea of an article, this might be your private kind of understanding of what the main idea is. So then you aren't really paraphrasing, you're more putting it into your own words. But maybe you have identified a thesis, or maybe you have identified a hypothesis, and if that is the case, you need to paraphrase it. Okay. All right, so once you've done that, that is the first thing you need to do. Number two is you need to identify the main idea, so MI, main idea, from each paragraph. So, those of you who did level 7 and level 8, you will know that often the main idea of a paragraph is found in the first sentence. It can also be found in the last sentence. So to save yourself time, I would read the first sentence of the paragraph and the last sentence of the paragraph first. If those clearly give you the main idea of the paragraph, cool, you don't need to read any more. So this is saving yourself time. If it's not in the first sentence or if it is not in the first sentence or the last sentence, sometimes it's in the second sentence. If it's not in the second sentence, you have to read the whole paragraph, which is a bummer. Anyway, wherever you find the main idea of the paragraph, identify it, and then, you guessed it, paraphrase it. Paraphrase it. And you're going to do this for every paragraph in the document. So if there are 5 paragraphs, then you will have 5 paraphrases. If there are 17 paragraphs, you will have 17 paraphrases. So this is times whatever number of paragraphs. Okay, so now we have a paraphrase of the main idea, the thesis, or the hypothesis. And now we have a paraphrase for every subsequent paragraph in the document. Okay, so now what do we do? Now we're going to put this information into a paragraph. Sorry, I'm going to try not to show you my behind while I'm doing this. Okay, so I want you to imagine that this is your paragraph. Right here. So the first sentence of your paragraph, or the first sentence of your summary, is going to be this right here. And you are going to begin this sentence with referencing the title of the document, and that title of the document will be in quotation marks because it is a direct quote. So it's going to be the title of the document plus the author or authors' names. So we often say, for example, in blah, 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 by blah, 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 comma, and then you begin this. And this goes right here. So the main idea of everything goes first. Some people like to put this last. That's actually okay, too. I like it up front because it's clear. And then the rest of your paragraph is going to be joining together all of these paraphrases. Now, if you have 17 paraphrases, you don't want a paragraph or a summary that is 17 sentences long. So what I suggest you do in that case is you look at your 17 paraphrases and you see where you can join ideas together to create more complex sentences. So maybe paragraph 1 and paragraph 2 are actually quite similar, so you're just going to make one complex sentence with the paraphrase from paragraph 1 and the paraphrase from paragraph 2. And that will shorten this space right here. And that's it. That's basically how you make a summary, is you're just going to join all those paraphrases together and make a paragraph. If you find your summary is too long, to put in your essay, then perhaps you need to reevaluate which parts of this document are actually the most important to you. Sometimes when you read a whole document, the only important thing is the main idea or the conclusion or findings of the research. Now, if you are summarizing someone's research, it's good to put the conclusion or the results last. So for example, in reading one, we looked at an article where some people did some research about youth and computers, and it turned out that their conclusion was different than their hypothesis. So that's important to remark upon, that their hypothesis was not correct. The conclusion or the results of their experiment was actually quite different. Okay, and that is how you write a basic summary. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say. Oh yes, and of course, you can use linking words at the beginning, in conclusion, in summary, to sum up. Those are very nice. To summarize. You can say to summarize the author. So to summarize Justine Barré in the article, Why Are Summaries Great? You can say something like that. So that is your basic summary. Good luck, you guys. See you soon.